mean, those last 3 days really helped me, and I've been at this for a long time. So I guess my only message to you is, I think we all need to get back to those first principles, and then you win. Then you get the grassroots going, and then you win. Things take care of themselves. I'm now going to turn the podium back over to Don Williams, who has a few remarks. Don?
Thank you, Kurt. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our legislators in the House of Delegates a round of applause. We're going to hear from some folks to speak on the state level in just a moment. But I want to share some information with you as Sam, Delegate Nixon mentioned, our candidate for Governor, Bob McDonnell, is unable to be with us tonight. We had hoped that he would be. You also heard about in our invocation tonight that his wife, Maureen, has lost her mother about 3 weeks ago or so. Her funeral was at the end of in the last week of June. The family have decided to take this week off and go away and celebrate her life together and kind of refresh themselves. And so Bob was unable to be with us tonight. He did try to get back from Michigan, but it's a long trip back, and it just wasn't going to work out. We'll have other opportunities to host him here in Chesterfield, and maybe in another setting just like this in about a month or so. But I did want you to know about that, and keep him, his wife, and their family in your thoughts and prayers. Now, before I turn it back over to Kirk to introduce those people who are going to speak about the statewide races, I also want to draw attention to some very special people tonight who are our sponsors. These people literally have paid the bill to give us the opportunity to have this wonderful event. Our gold sponsors are the Honorable Kurt Cox and the Honorable Sam Nixon. Please join me in thanking Sam and Kurt for this kind gift. Our silver sponsors, Manoli Lapassi and Lee Ware. Please join me in thanking them. And friends of the CCRC for this event tonight include Joe Horrible, Diane Pettit, and Dennis Prophet, our sheriff. Please give them a round of applause. And now, to talk a little bit about state races, I'll let Kirk introduce those people who are going to speak.
I'm going to now turn to John Watkins, and John is going to say a few remarks about our great Lieutenant Governor candidate, Bill Bowling. John? Kirk, thank you very much. Don, I certainly appreciate all the organization putting this event together. I think it's extremely important that we get people interested in this race, these races, early on in the summer, because it is going to take a lot of work. Let me ask you something. Are you worried, are you concerned about the direction that this country is going in right now? Are you? Are you? Do you know that there are only 2 gubernatorial races in this country this fall? Virginia is one of them. I was on a roll too. Virginia is one of them. He wants to trip and fall over this thing. We have got to make sure that people understand the importance of these 3 races in Virginia. All you have to do is look at the campaign donations to the opponents of Bob McDonnell, Bill Bowling, and Ken Cuccinelli. All you have to do is look. And it's the same people that funded the Washington campaign a year ago. It's the same groups. It's the same concerns that all of us should have. The only way we are going to change that is to elect this ticket. Bill Bowling, I have had the pleasure and honor to know ever since he got involved in politics. When he ran in a local election in Hanover County. He is a son of Hanover County. He went on the Board of Supervisors. From there, He ran a tough race against an incumbent Democrat in the Senate of Virginia and won. And then he was in the Senate when I came to the Senate. I was in the House of Delegates at the time. And then he ran and won as a lieutenant governor. Bill Bowling is rock solid. If he tells you something, you can take it to the bank. You can count on it. Because he's going to follow through. That's the same thing that you can say about Tim Cuccinelli. It's the same thing you can say about Bob McDonnell. We, as political people, have to reinstate, have to reinstall the trust from the people and the elected officials. That's what the difference is. It's just like Lee said when Mr. Franklin mentioned to the lady, we formed a republic for the yours to keep.
What is doing over there?
We can keep it here in Virginia.
My dad said.
We can keep it if we elect Bill Bowling is the next lieutenant, is the re-elect Bill Bowling as lieutenant governor. And we elect Bob McDonnell as governor and Tim Cuccinelli as attorney general. It's an important time in our lives. It's an important time for this country. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Now I'm going to reintroduce Sam Nixon. Sam's going to say a few words about Bob McDonnell, and then he's going to introduce a guy I think you're really going to be interested in hearing from, Tim Cuccinelli. Sam?
Well, thank you, Kirk. A few years ago, Kirk, Bob McDonnell and I all sat in the same part of the General Assembly on the floor that was called the Amen Corner. And I think Bob McDonnell actually kind of named it that. And I remember Kirk and I talking one day, and we said sort of jokingly, when we grow up, we hope we could be like Bob McDonnell. And we weren't all together joking. And the reason we say that is that we have such a deep admiration of Bob and his capabilities and what he stands for. I mean, I know when I first came in 94, Bob was still only, I think, his second term. And he carried the welfare reform legislation for then Governor Allen. That was very complex. Remember, the Republicans were in the minority then. And Bob did such a masterful job of explaining that the reason we needed to enact welfare reform was not for those of us who are blessed not to ever need welfare, but because welfare in and of itself is an immoral system that keeps people who need assistance down longer than they should be. And that's why we needed to reform it. So Bob's just a wonderful person. I'll tell you one other little story. Bob was nominated, received the Republican nomination the first weekend in June. And what is typically the case is that after you're nominated, because you work so hard, the candidates will take sort of a breather with their families before they get into the campaign season. Only a day or so had gone by past the convention when I got a call saying that Bob wanted to spend his entire Saturday from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. having policy calls with different people around the state. And he scheduled hour after hour after hour of these statewide conference calls. Each hour dealt with a different topic. And Bob McDonnell is a guy who, no matter what the issue is, whether it's transportation, whether it's the economy, whether it's health care, whether it's the environment, he has a deep understanding of any issue. As a matter of fact, he's the one who's driving the discussion. And the other thing I'll tell you is that Bob is probably one of the people that I consider one of the absolute finest persons ever served in the General Assembly. He has such a keen intellect. He has a tremendous capacity to understand issues. The most important thing is he's right on the issue. Bob is a